Alrighty, I'm going to explain the war of territory in Europe. So this is an awesome video that I found online. I linked it right through here. I found this actually from someone else, so I'm going to give them credit for this right through here. But I'm going to give you some of my own explanation and kind of what I want you to know about these different battles as we're moving in. Okay, so I've got it linked on the playlist for those of you, my students who are listening to this. Otherwise, I've got it linked down in the description below as well. First thing we're going to talk about is the map of Europe during the invasion of Poland. Okay, the invasion of Poland starts on September 1st of 1939, so just a few short days after the invasion. Okay, breaking it down right here, the white countries are not involved at all. The Allied countries are going to be involved, so we can look down in North Africa and then parts of the Middle East as well. We've got Poland now being in charge or fighting against the Nazis because the Nazis in Germany are invading. We've got the United Kingdom and France. Okay, invasion of Poland. The Soviet Union is not really involved at this point. They have that treaty still, but they realize, uh-oh, stuff is about to get bad. Now, we're going to flash forward just a month later exactly on the dot. We can see that nearly half of Poland has been conquered, okay, by the Nazis, and the Soviets come in on the other side of Poland and take the last bit of Poland. The only thing remaining, a tiny little sliver of Polish independence of Warsaw. Other than that, it is pretty much conquered at this time period. Okay, now we're going to flash forward to April 15th, 1940. See, at this time period, things are starting to get a little bit changed. Okay, we got Finland up here. Finland's actually gonna have a treaty with Nazi Germany, kind of a part of this appeasement as just don't invade us and we're going to be okay. If you look right here, okay, Hitler invaded Denmark. It took him about 4 hours to invade Denmark. Quite literally, it did not take long, and then went up into Norway and is slowly starting to invade Norway and the Low Countries. Okay, by May 20th of 1940, we see virtually all of Norway is going to be invaded at this time period. Also, he has now gone into Belgium and Luxembourg as well, and the Netherlands. Okay, these countries are being invaded, and Hitler's beginning to advance into France. Now, if you look over here again, the Soviet Union is getting much more worried. They're worrying about what might happen. Okay, these other countries are getting involved at this time period. And Iceland, look at Iceland, just chilling up there. Okay, Allied power. Iceland is allied. Woo, go Iceland! You and your fjords and volcanoes and all their cool stuff. Right here, again, by June 14th of 1940, we see the Nazis advancing once again on France, moving closer and closer to the capital of Paris. Just about a week later, they're going to ultimately have the entire capital of France taken, invasion of France right through here. This, if you want to look over in North Africa, the thing on the top right side of your screen, you can see right here, different countries, okay, parts of the Arabian Peninsula, current day Yemen, Djibouti, Somalia, these different countries controlled by the Axis powers at this time period. Moving down here, okay, we have things going a little bit farther at this. We now have all of North Africa being controlled by the Axis powers. We also are going to be getting Italy joining the war at this time period. Again, Poland is stuck into this one already. We've got Syria and Lebanon being controlled by the Axis powers at this time period. And we have Mussolini looking at the Greeks, thinking he's going to invade Greece, which is why Greece is now going to be joining the Allied powers in opposition of Mussolini. This is going to keep going on. Okay, we've got Albania down there joining the Axis powers. Romania and Hungary are going to fall at this time period to Axis powers, and things are going to continue to get worse. Okay, the Greeks, as I already stated, going to be joining the Allies. We got Bulgaria now getting involved. Okay, the Greek at this time period, if you're Greece, you're kind of worried about this is not looking good. Okay, what is going to be happening here? They're going to whop up on the Italians though, until ultimately they are going to get close to be falling right through here. Yugoslavia is going to pop in at this time period. Yugoslavia is going to join the Allies, and they're quickly going to realize this is not going to work out. It does not take long at all for Hitler to take over and control Yugoslavia. This, if you look up in North Africa at this time period, the Horn of Africa is beginning to get shrunk down when it comes to Axis powers. The Allies are going to be getting major victories in this area, conquering and pushing out the Axis powers. Okay, so Yugoslavia is slowly getting conquered at this time period. Now, at this point, everything is going to be conquered. Okay, Yugoslavia is totally conquered by the Axis powers. We've got Greece conquered by the Axis powers. So virtually all of Europe at this time period, with the exception of Denmark, or not Denmark, with the exception of Ireland, Sweden, Portugal, Spain, and Switzerland, and then portions of Russia are going to be controlled by the Allied powers, or Finland, who, as I already stated, had an agreement with the Nazi Nazi Germany forces. Okay, this time period is not looking good for Allied Europe. We can see what's going on at this time period. Okay, things are not getting good. By June 7th of 1941, we see virtually everything again in Europe being conquered or controlled, with the exception of Switzerland controlling neutral. Okay, Switzerland though at this time period is totally freaking out. There are actually plans in place for the entire Swiss population to retreat up to the Alps and basically have a last stand. Virtually impossible to invade. Though if you look up to Africa, the Horn of Africa, virtually everything in the Horn of Africa, with the exception of the country of Djibouti, is pretty much controlled by the Allied powers, which is going to be good if you are not a Nazi. Operation Barbarossa is going to launch right around this time, June 27th, 1941. This was when Hitler decided to break his treaty, non-aggression pact with Stalin and invade the Soviet Union. And you can see exactly how quick this is going to go. Okay, at this time period, moving up virtually a month, he is advancing once again. December 6th of 1941, he has advanced very far into Russia, going all the way up into here, June 27th of 1942. Again, he continues to advance. At this time period, he's going to be moving down into the Baltic region, not the Baltic region, the Caucasus region, Caucasus area. Oop, there we go, and taking stuff in here. This brings us to Operation Torch, okay, in November of 1942. This was the first time the Americans joined and crossed the Atlantic. This was that battle in North Africa, which is ultimately going to lead to the defeat of the Italians. If you notice the difference between those two pictures right through here, put those up on the screen. We look at North Africa being controlled there to North Africa being controlled here. Virtually none of Africa is now controlled by the Nazis and the Axis power. This time we have Stalingrad happening. Remember, never get into a land war with Russia. It is always going to end poorly, and we're going to see the German area in Soviet Russia backed out slowly, and they're forced to retreat consistently. As you can see, this consistently moving on here. At this point, we have the invasion of Italy around September 15th of 1943. American troops are moving up from North Africa up to Italy on their way to conquer Rome, take out Mussolini, and then continue north to take out Berlin and Adolf Hitler. This is going to consistently keep happening. Again, we see the Red Army advancing by December of 1943 against the Soviets. Realizing how this was previously, we had pretty much all of Europe controlled by the Axis powers. At this time period, that is no longer the case. Their power is slowly being eroded. We look right through here. Ukraine is now under the authority of the Axis. We've got Sardinia and Piedmont, again in the Mediterranean Sea, being controlled by the Axis powers. Italy is slowly getting conquered once again. Looking here, we have D-Day invasion. If you look on the tip of France, you can see a tiny little sliver of blue, which is, this is kind of the big turning point of the end of the war. Okay, Stalingrad was pretty much the turning point of the war. However, D-Day plays a major role in that as well. Once again, we have the Soviet forces consistently pushing on the Eastern Front. We've got the British, American, and Canadian forces invading through D-Day. We've got the American forces coming up through the boot of Italy, putting that chokehold on the neck of Adolf Hitler's army. Now, quickly, about August 7th, 1944, roughly about 2 months after the D-Day invasion, we see northern France being controlled now by Allied powers. Again, the Soviets are advancing, making life much more challenging for Hitler. Rome has now fallen, and the Americans are moving their way up the boot of Italy. Consistently keep going. Again, August 25th, 1944, we see movements of American troops, the Soviet troops, the British and Canadian troops, shrinking Hitler's empire, so to say. Again, at this time period, around the Battle of the Bulge, we have the entirety of France now being in the control of the Allied powers once again. We've got Bulgaria and Hungary and Romania being in the authority, or Romania, not Hungary, excuse me, being in control by the Soviet powers, moving forward, taking away what Hitler has. Hitler's last Christmas, December 25th, 1944. Basically, Hitler controls small portions of northern Italy, Yugoslavia, portions of that, parts of Poland as well, Germany, Norway, Denmark, Holland, that area. But his power is quickly being reduced, and we can see that happening right through here. Get to March 28th. Again, we're moving forward. The Allied troops are moving in, and Hitler's Germany is not the way it was before, bringing us until April 26th of 1945, right around the time of the Battle of Berlin. If you see, Berlin is getting that chokehold put on it, and this is ultimately going to lead to Hitler's defeat in May of 1945, ending World War II. This is VE Day, okay, Victory in Europe Day. You can see exactly how happy these people were. Let's see how many people we can fit on top of one truck. Let's get the Queen of England of the royal family out here with Mr. Winston Churchill looking awkward with his hands in his pockets. And let's go play in a fountain, because why not play in a fountain? The war is over, the Nazis have been defeated, life is going to be good. That is all for now. Comment questions down below. Feel free to check out other video that I've linked on this one, and good luck.